All right, Madison, I got 2 o'clock Eastern. Is it okay if I go ahead and get this
Let's
party
do it.
started?
Let's go.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Good afternoon if you're on the East Coast. Good morning, I should say, if you are on the West Coast. And if you're watching this as a recording, I hope you're having a good day no matter when and where you are. We are here to talk about staff burnout. Yes, a very, very important and timely topic. We're going to talk about how to promote mental health in your organization to hopefully increase your employee retention. So thanks to all of you for joining us today. It's awesome to see a full room. I'm Steven. I'm over here at Bloomerang, and I'll be moderating today's discussion as always. And just a couple of quick housekeeping items. Just want to let you all know that we are recording this session, and we'll be sending out the recording as well as the slides later on today. So if you have to leave early, or maybe you get interrupted, or just want to review the content later on, don't worry. We will get all that good stuff in your hands later on this afternoon. Just be on the lookout for an email from me. You'll get it before dinner time, and it'll have all those goodies. But most important, we love for these sessions to be interactive. So send in your questions or comments along the way. There's a Q&A box, there's a chat box. You can use either of those. Say hi in the chat if you haven't already. I see a lot of you have already done that. That's awesome. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and don't be shy about asking questions, because we're going to try to leave a little bit of time at the end for Q&A. So you can do that on Twitter as well. I'll keep an eye on Twitter. But bottom line is we would love to hear from you. And if this is your first Bloomerang webinar, welcome. We do these webinars just about every single Thursday throughout the year. We literally only miss like 2 or 3 Thursdays the entire year. We love doing these webinars. One of my favorite things for sure. But in addition to webinars, if you haven't ever heard of Bloomerang, what we are most known for is our donor management software. That's what Bloomerang is. So if you are interested in that, check us out. You can visit our website. There's lots of free resources there, as well as a lot of information about us as a product. So visit us if you're interested. Don't do that right now, because one of my favorite people is joining us, and you're going to learn a lot from her over the next hour or so. Madison Gonzalez is here from beautiful Indianapolis, which is where I also am. Madison, how's it going? You doing okay?
It's going great. Yes, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you all for joining. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about, so I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I've been looking forward to this one for sure. And Madison's awesome. If you all don't know her, one of my favorite things about her is she is also a working ED. So she understands what it is like to, have staff and run the organization, but also does a lot of things on the side like this. She does a lot of teaching and coaching. One of my favorite bloggers on the Bloomerang blog for sure. And I run into her at conferences, which is awesome. So Madison, you're great. I don't want to take up any more time away from you, so I'm going to stop sharing. I think that'll let you
I'll take over
share your slides. Yeah, there, it looks like it's working.
Again, thank you all so much for joining. This is one of my favorite topics, certainly a timely topic, as we are, still definitely feeling the repercussions of the pandemic. Things changed a lot, opened our eyes to a lot as organizations, as companies, what employees are needing, what we're needing. I was raised by a therapist, so I'm going to do my best to kind of package a lot of the little nuggets of information that I was taught as a child and a teen and try to incorporate in my teams right now. The whole goal here is to talk about burnout and how we can promote mental health within our organizations. I don't think we can, separate mental health and personal lives from a professional life. As human beings, we're very holistic people, right? And we have personal lives, things going on in the backgrounds that don't disappear when we hit that desk or hit that computer. They're there, and they impact the work that we do, and they impact our quality of life and our satisfaction. So what we're going to talk about is tips and suggestions and things to keep at the top of your mind. Maybe you're managing a team, maybe you're managing a project, maybe you're managing the entire organization, or maybe you're just looking for tips for yourself so that you can do your best to stay sane in a work environment that may or may not be fostering a people first culture right now. But what we're going to talk about, here's our agenda for today. Understanding burnout. So what is burnout? What does it look like? What are some of the signs of it? And we're going to talk about mental health a little bit and some statistics there. We're going to talk about preventing burnout. So what can we do in advance and things that we can do on a regular basis to help limit the likelihood of a burnout? And then we're going to talk about, oops, we already got there. The team is already exhausted. We're already tired. Now, what do we do to kind of turn this ship around? So as Stephen said, I want this to be very much like an open conversation. I think mental health is something that I'm very excited to see being discussed more and more. I would really love to see your comments in the chat. Please drop some Q&A. I typically like to save Q&A till the end, so I'll address the questions later, just because it's possible that the next slide might have the answer on it. And so we will get to that at the end of the presentation. For now, one of my favorite things about teaching nonprofits is to see all these amazing people out here watching right now. I see hundreds of participants joined, and I want to know the difference that you're making. So please drop in the chat, what your organization is, and then what it is that you do. What's your mission? What change are you making? Because I think it's really inspiring to see all the different causes and all the different missions that we're all bringing to the table here to create a better world. So as Stephen said, I'm actually an executive director myself, and I work for an organization called Morning Light. I just want to introduce Morning Light a little bit. We are here in Indianapolis, Indiana, and the home that you're seeing here is called the Abby Hunt Bryce Home. It's a 12-bedroom facility that houses the terminally ill. So if somebody has 6 months or less to live and is on hospice, they come and they live with us for absolutely no cost. So our whole thing is that your background, your income, your circumstances should not get in the way of you having dignity and support at the end of your life. And so they come and they stay in one of our 12 bedrooms for free. They get, home cooked meals, as you can see my staff cooking here. They get a warm bed, and most importantly, they get that dignity and they get that compassion and care at the end of life that I think we all deserve. But dealing with the terminally ill, dealing with death is certainly not an easy task. And so it's really important that my staff feel supported and feel heard, and that we're all doing our best to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of others. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So understanding burnout. The Mayo Clinic defines job burnout as a special type of work-related stress. It's a state of physical or emotional exhaustion. And this is where I really want to pay attention. And it involves a sense of reduced accomplishment and loss of personal identity. So when we take reduced accomplishment and a sense of a loss of morale and a loss of sense of self and what makes us tick and what makes us want to show up to work every day, we're going to get burnout. Burnout is not a medical diagnosis, although some experts think that other conditions such as depression can be behind burnout. It's certainly not always behind burnout. There are some things that we can do to limit burnout aside from a diagnosis, but these can factor in. And when we're talking about mental health, the mental health first aid actually says 41% of Americans have had an untreated mental illness. That's a lot of people. 41% have had an untreated mental illness. And I think that there's a lot of things that can contribute to this, accessibility of care, et cetera. But I think that education is one of the reasons that these Americans are having to deal with mental illness without treatment. So education is important, but also just having these open dialogues, open conversations to reduce the shame and to reduce the stigma and misconceptions or judgments we might place on mental illness by just opening up, our dialogue and talking about what it looks like and what we can do about it. Also knowing we're not alone. 40 million Americans suffer from anxiety. That's a lot of people. And I think anxiety has this weird way of making us feel like there's something wrong with us, and that there's something wrong with who we are and how we're operating, and that we're alone or not good enough or we're isolated. Because, anxiety is going to creep in and tell us these stories about ourselves where we're the only one who has to deal with this. Everybody else has it all together. Look at everybody on social media and how perfect their life is. Look at all these other nonprofits who are just, killing it at fundraising, and what's wrong with our office? What's wrong with me? But, statistically, 40 million people are suffering from this in America right now. And so what do we do about it? Aside from opening the conversations and just providing some education and some resources. What leads to burnout? So long hours, so overworked staff, underpaid, so money stressors. If we're not making enough money and we're not able to pay our bills, we're going to carry that stress into our job, right? Unrealistic expectations and goals. This is a big one. I think that when we set expectations and we set goals that can't be reached, it just provides fosters an environment of disappointment and feeling not enough and feeling like we're failing. So involving our staff and our team in these conversations when we are setting goals is really important. What can we actually accomplish? Relational friction. So obviously going to work where you're not getting along with your coworkers is going to be an issue, or relational friction at home. I think a lot of relational friction comes from misunderstandings and a mismatch of the expectation and what's being done. So I believe that a lot of relational friction can be at least aired out a little bit by promoting a environment where communication is very encouraged. So we're having open dialogues between our teammates. Why do we want this? What do we do as a team to get here? What is expected of me? What is expected of you? Why is that expected? Having these conversations can help see people for people and not just, someone behind a screen, and reduce some of that friction. Isolation. We've all experienced this in the last couple of years, that, isolation, we are social creatures. So being forced to be on your own, or if you do have a mental illness that kind of creates this self-isolation need, can be problematic to burnout. So having a positive community and a good community that you can lean on and talk to is very important. Neglecting self-care. Self-care is not a luxury. Self-care is a necessity. You've all probably heard the term, you can't pour from an empty cup. And that's a bit of a cliche, but it's so true. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So if you are taking care of yourself first, then you are going to be able to serve your organization better, serve the people that you take care of better, serve your family better, serve your friends better. I think a lot of us in the nonprofit industry, we have a desire to make a difference and to make the world a better place, but we can't do that if we're neglecting self-care and burning ourselves out. So it is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And then caring too much. Caring too much really talks about that identity piece, right? Sometimes we wrap our identities up in what we do. Sometimes we wrap our identities up in our work. Sometimes we wrap our identities up in our results. And so we push ourselves and we push ourselves and we push ourselves to burnout because we think that who we are is what we get done. And I want to just encourage you all to remember that your identity is separate from what you do. Your identity is who you are at your core. And so by owning the fact that you're enough as you are, and not just whatever it is that you get done, can help you from overexerting yourself and overexhausting yourself to make yourself feel worthy of something based on the job that you're doing. So how does burnout affect nonprofits? It increases turnover. It increases conflict within the organization and systems, and it increases error. If you're burnt out, you're going to make more mistakes. It decreases productivity. I think a lot of the time, when we're stressed, it's almost like we have this false illusion that we're being more productive because things feel faster and things, we're breathing heavier and we're stressed out and our mind is racing, but we're not actually getting that much done, right? So it's this weird kind of illusion that we're being very productive because we're stressing ourselves out and we're going 100 miles an hour. But when you look at what you're getting done, it might be the same result if you had used that energy to self-care, right? To rest, to meditate, to journal, to set goals, to connect with friends. It might be the same amount of energy and the same productivity at the end, but it's two different ways of living. And one is going to lead to burnout and one is not. So productivity can decrease. Job satisfaction, of course, can decrease, which leads to that turnover, and it decreases results. Forbes.com. So this is really interesting. Employee turnover has long been an issue for the nonprofit sector. According to exacthire.com, the voluntary annual turnover rate is 19%, far outpacing the all industry average of 12%. So we're 7% higher than all industry average for turnover. I wonder why that is. Many nonprofits focus on taking care of people, and I think it's high time we start with our employees. We need to view our employees as part of the living organism that is our nonprofit that we're serving, right? Of the mission that we're serving. We have a unique opportunity as organizations to better the lives, not only of those around us and the community that we're serving, but with our employees. So bringing that kind of mission in-house and practicing what we preach within our own organizations is going to be very, very important. Employees are your most precious resource. Your success rate is going to depend on how on board your team is with getting these missions accomplished, goals accomplished. You can't do it on your own. Nobody can do any, nobody is going to make the impact that we're hoping to make in a vacuum, right? So we need our team, we need those around us. Our employees are our most precious resource. How can we collaborate to make sure that everybody is feeling motivated, everybody is feeling empowered, everybody is connected to the mission and remembering why it is that we do what we do, and everybody is feeling valued? Because feeling valued accounts for quite a bit of a job satisfaction, feeling like you're making a difference, you're appreciated, you're seen. So how do we prevent burnout? We're going to talk about physical ways to prevent burnout, social ways to prevent burnout, emotional ways to prevent burnout. But I want to think first about our staff size. Now, I can speak from a place of love here, because I have a staff size of 2 in our development office right now. So for all of you out there who are running on a small staff like myself, I hear you. It can be very stressful to feel like, you have to do 6 different jobs, right? Whereas in a nonprofit or a for-profit organization, there'd probably be 1 person for each task that you're doing. So I want to encourage us to start thinking about making sure that we're adequately staffed. Please don't expect one individual to do a million different jobs, right? That's going to lead to burnout, and no job is going to be done as effectively as it could be if you had help. Now, I know that a lot of us don't have the budgets to add to staff, and I also know that the hiring market right now is very tough. We actually have a director of development position posted right now in our organization, and it's tough. It's tough to find people right now in the current job market. But if you can't do that, how can you utilize your volunteers to help delegate and minimize some of the weight on your own shoulders? So I want you to think about the resources that you have around you. Do you have a big volunteer pool right now, or do you need to grow that? And with the volunteers, how can you help them perhaps do some of the development tasks? Could they write thank you letters to donors? Could they make phone calls? Could they assist with your special event planning or your auction item cultivation? What can people do that are already invested in your organization and already want to help reduce some of that stress on your staff so that your systems as an organization don't crumble? Just a quick tip is to look at the colleges around you and the universities around you and look at their programs. Is there somebody from marketing who could maybe come on board, who needs some experience and a resume builder who could manage your social media platform for you? What are some of the jobs that you don't necessarily have to be doing that are contributing to your stress? And how can you either make sure you're adequately staffed so that other people on the team are able to share the load, or utilize those volunteers? Also creating a people first culture, and we'll dive into that a little bit more here. So people first culture, how do we do this? Well, first of all, I want to go back to that open communication. Communicating is so important, and it's also important not to just talk at people. That's not communication, right? As a leader, I think sometimes people feel pressure to have all the answers. And even if you're not a leader, when you're just in an organization, we feel like we need to have all the answers, and we don't want to ask questions because we might not look very good if we don't know everything, right? But it's really important that we listen to our teammates and we learn from our teammates, and also repeat back to them what it is that they're saying and what it is that they're needing. So what makes you happy to come to work? What do you love most about your job? Um, and this is what we're asking our team, right? Why do you do what you do? What brought you here? Why do you share a passion for this mission? Finding their why, repeating it back to them, using that why to help keep that motivation going and that fire burning. Also, empathy. So we don't have to necessarily agree with somebody, and we don't necessarily have to do things the same way that they do them. In fact, we're all so different. What makes us tick is so different. And I'm learning this a lot right now because we're doing some personality testing and that kind of thing within my organization. So we just did the Gallup strength test, and our different strengths are all so unique, and the different things that make us tick and things that we value that maybe somebody else doesn't value, and vice versa, is really important to communicate, because when we're opening those lines of communication, we can at least understand maybe where they're coming from and understand how to exercise some of that empathy so that there's less judgment and less bitterness amongst the teams. Also, showing appreciation and gratitude. I can't say this enough. And you don't even have to be, the leader of the whole team to show appreciation and gratitude. Show it to each other. Little Post-it notes on their office door, on their desk, a little email like, hey, I really noticed how you took on that extra shift, or I really noticed how you stayed an extra 20 minutes to make that phone call. I really appreciate that. I see all the hard work that you're putting in, and I value you. Thank you. I appreciate you. A little appreciation goes a long way. Making employees aware of resources. So what are the resources that your organization offers? Do you have health coverage? Do you have PTO? Some organizations have, a dry cleaning service where they try to spare their employees the stress of doing laundry. So they bring that in. Wouldn't that be nice? I wish we had that. We don't have that, but there are certain little things, right, that you can communicate to your team to say, hey, I don't know if you knew, but here's a mental health hotline that you have free access to as an employee here. So making them aware of those things. And then, of course, practicing what you preach. So if you're telling your employees to take that paid time off because you know that they need that rest, and you know that they need that time with their family, or you know that they just take a break, look, it'll all get done. It'll all get done. Take that PTO. But then you yourself are never taking PTO. You have to practice what you preach. Okay, so here's some physical things that we can do to prevent burnout. Some of these you probably already know, but it never hurts to remind ourselves. Take intentional breaks. So I put intentional, fancy, and bold, because it is not enough to just take a break and do what? Get on our phone and just start scrolling. So many of us do this, right? Our break, our lunchtime is just consisted of, okay, let's see what everyone's posting today. And before you know it, it's been 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, your break is over. And you're like, what did I even do? I don't feel rested, recharged at all. So taking intentional breaks to do something that you really enjoy. Maybe that's like just some doodling. I don't know, doodling, or calling a friend who, picks you up, or just going for a quick lap around your house or around your office building outside, but taking intentional breaks, saying, okay, here's what I'm going to do with my break time, because I know that I'm going to feel better after the break. Nourishment. I don't say diet, because this isn't about weight. We don't care. It's about nourishing your body with foods that are going to help you feel energized and help you feel clean and healthy, right? So fresh fruits and veggies, we know this already, but make sure you're getting water. Make sure you're not dehydrated. Honestly, if your blood sugar is spiking and dipping all over the place all day, it's going to contribute to your exhaustion and anxiety and feeling of stress. So please make sure that you're eating enough and eating often, and you're not working through all your lunches and your breaks all the time, only to figure out, oh my gosh, it's 4 o'clock and I haven't eaten anything all day. So healthy snacks, that kind of thing. Exercising. Exercising does not need to be running a marathon. It can literally be, 5 minutes of stretching. It doesn't even have to be cardio. I'm not a huge fan of cardio myself. So I feel, resistant when somebody tells me that, but just stretching, or, just going for a walk. It doesn't need to be anything major, but movement is medicine. When you're, involving your body, your brain is going to release all of those feel good endorphins, feel good hormones and chemicals into your body system that helps alleviate some stress and even give you more energy, which I've always thought is kind of counterintuitive. When you're exercising, you're going to end up with more energy, but it's true. Going outside, I know this is harder in the winter. We all just posted how there's like blizzards everywhere and everyone's feeling that cold. But even just, bundling up, going outside and getting a couple minutes of fresh air and sunshine can do wonders. And then laughter. So laughter is scientifically proven to help boost your mood and overall life satisfaction. It's not just like, oh, we laugh because it feels good. It actually has like a lot of benefits when it comes to stress, when it comes to longevity, which I always think is interesting. It has like anti-aging properties, laughter, based on what's going on in your body. So like, pull up YouTube or pull up, a funny show or a comedian that you enjoy and just laugh. Like just make it a point to get some laughter in your day, at least once a day. Call a friend who always has the best jokes, and just laugh. And if you can't necessarily laugh because you're in public and, that's kind of awkward, you can also smile. Smiling tricks your brain. So when you sit and you smile, the muscles that are involved in smiling tell your brain that you're happy. So I want everybody right now, all of you, I can't see you, so I can't hold you accountable, but I also can't tell if you're smiling or not. Hopefully you don't have to trick your brain into being happy right now. I'm doing my best with this presentation, but just smile. And smiling, even when you're like frustrated, which I know sounds a little like crazy, like smiling when you're frustrated, but doing that can help trick your brain into calming itself down. So fun fact about that. Resting and relaxing. So again, daily rest and time off actually increases productivity. So this is going back to that kind of idea of me being stressed means I'm being so productive all the time. It's not necessarily the case. When you take time to rest and, refill the gas tank, then you can be more productive because you can be more intentional and just more satisfied. I mean, it's not all about productivity, right? It's also about, am I satisfied with my job? How is my quality of life as a whole? So being intentional with your time, again, I say that, no scrolling, utilizing PTO time if you have it, and just making sure you take time off, even if you don't have it. Having that rest will help you in the long run. I sound like your mom here, but consistent bedtime routine and sleep schedules. Sleep is linked to all kinds of things, but sleep is kind of interesting because there's some people who require a lot of it, which is me. I don't feel rested unless I've had like my full 9 hours of uninterrupted sleep, which was really a fun time when I had my babies. That was kind of difficult, but good news, we're all back on a sleep schedule and everything is good. But some people can get by with 6 hours. So I say get enough sleep for you. Because studies don't really indicate exactly what that amount of sleep is for everyone as a whole. We're all a little bit different. I really wish I was one of those people who could operate on like 5 hours of sleep and then wake up at the crack of dawn and go for a run, but that's just not me. And I've accepted that and I get my sleep now. Also, avoiding alcohol and caffeine before bed. I don't know if we have any night cappers here or anybody who drinks the, their last cup of coffee at like 5 o'clock. But even if you're able to fall asleep and stay asleep, your quality of sleep is affected. So alcohol and caffeine both inhibit you from getting into that full REM cycle. And dipping way down into REM, which is where you get that really, really quality sleep and repair. When we're asleep, our body is regenerating, it's repairing itself, it's resting. And these things can inhibit you from doing that. So doing that on a regular basis is not going to really help when it comes to reducing burnout. And then creating a relaxing environment for yourself. So being intentional about your physical space. What is it that makes you happy? I have a candle burning right here next to me. I'm not going to pick it up because I don't want to spill wax, but I love candles. I love smells, smells that can calm you down or remind you of, cookies baking or something. Fresh plants or greenery is always good. And just creating, a comfortable environment. Maybe you have like a Sherpa blanket on your lap while you're doing a Zoom. I don't know, but these physical things that we can bring into our space can really help our mental health as well. Now we're going to talk about mental and emotional practices that we can do to help reduce burnout. So gratitude practice, studies definitely indicate that gratitude is one of the best linkers, or linkers, is that a word? Best conductors, we'll say, to quality of life. And in my free time, I'm a writer and I'm a poet, and I came up with the notion, because I've applied it to my own life, that we can't always be happy, but we can always be grateful. So happiness is a mood, right? It's an emotion. It can come and it can go. But gratitude is a choice. So gratitude is something that we choose even in the poor circumstances, right? Even when we're feeling stressed, we can still find something to be grateful for. So a practice here that you can try, which I do, is emotion tracking. I think this is really interesting because we need to remember that emotions are temporary and they're an indicator of the moment that we're in. So what I have is 3 different alarms on my phone. You can pick the times that that suit you the best, but I think mine is at like 9:30 in the morning, I think 2 o'clock, and then 8 o'clock. And all it is it's a little reminder of I feel. And you're just noticing the emotion. You're kind of a third party here, but I feel, and at 9:30, I might feel completely overwhelmed with my to-do list for the day. Or I might feel really driven and like, hey, you know what? I woke up, I got my walk in, I, chugged some water this morning. I'm feeling hydrated and powerful, and I'm going to, nail this meeting. And then by 8 o'clock, you can feel rested or relaxed. You're watching your favorite show, you're petting your dog, life is good. Or you have 2 little kids who will not go to bed and you're completely exhausted because they've been giving you heck all day. It's interesting to notice how your emotions are just an indicator of the moment that you're in, and they also go like this. So detaching yourself from your emotions, acknowledging the emotions, but detaching yourself from the emotions and finding something to be grateful in despite. So even if you are, it's easy, right? If you're having a great time and you're feeling powerful, and I am so grateful for this cup of coffee in my hand. Life is so good. I'm grateful for the sunshine. I'm grateful for this car that gets me to work. I'm grateful for my health, etc. It's easy when times are good. It's not necessarily easy when you've just gotten some bad news, like someone's sick, right? But you can be grateful for that relationship with that person. I'm so grateful that I have a friend that's good enough, a good enough friend, a strong enough friendship with this person who's impacted my life, that I feel sad when they're sick, right? There's always something to be grateful for. And so just trying to cultivate a regular practice of noticing the things that make you feel good and giving thanks for those things is one of the best ways to increase your quality of life and your overall outlook. Mindfulness is especially good when you are anxious and feeling overwhelmed, because it's all about being present in the moment. So we were talking about how emotions can be momentary. And sometimes when those emotions feel like, oh my gosh, I just don't know what to do next. I am so overwhelmed. My heart is racing. My mind is racing. Mindfulness is a really good practice that's used and encouraged by therapists and counselors and in a lot of kind of spiritual circles as well. And what it does is it distracts your mind from what you have to do and allows you to just be. So again, this is back to that kind of identity, right? Is so much of society and work and family is like what I have to do. I always have to be doing something. I'm not allowed to just be. And mindfulness helps you just be, ground yourself in the moment. So here's a quick mindfulness practice that you can implement. You look around, you can even do this right now as we're talking. And I want you to name 5 things that you see, 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that you can feel. So, touching, maybe it's your hair, maybe it's your clothes, maybe it's your drink that you have. What can you feel? 2 things that you can smell, and then 1 thing that you can taste. And what it does is it just grounds your mind back into that present moment and allows you to breathe a couple of times, just focusing on what is around you, and allows you to just be and doesn't ask anything of you other than to notice your environment. I know a lot of people think affirmations are kind of woo-woo. I don't believe that at all. I think affirmations are incredibly, incredibly useful and important to implement in your everyday life. And the thing with affirmations is we aren't saying, I want to be capable. I hope I can be capable someday. I used to be capable. We are saying, I am capable. Because what we're doing is we're telling our brain something. Your brain is an incredible organism. It's the biggest and most powerful human muscle, right? And it's incredible. We tell our brain something, and this is kind of the theory behind like manifesting or goal setting or being intentional or setting dreams or making plans. When we tell our brain something that we want or something that we are, it starts to work over time to figure out how we become that and how we get that. So our brain is already creating the pathways in our mind. When we say I am capable, when we say I am organized, I'll be really honest with you. I'm kind of a creative person and a free thinker, and organization has not always been my strength. But by telling myself I am organized, my brain is going to figure out how to be organized. I am organized. I am already organized. Not I hope to be organized or I used to be organized. I am organized now. I am powerful. I am calm. I am smart. I am patient. I am brave. And when you tell yourself these things on repeat, even though you might feel silly at first, when you start to adopt these things as mantras in everyday life, I am enough, I am worthy, then your brain will start to believe it. And I absolutely, absolutely love this quote by Brianna West. She says, if you change how you think, you change your mindset. If you change your mindset, you change your behaviors. If you change your behaviors, you change your habits. If you change your habits, you change your outcomes. And if you change your outcomes, you change your life. So it really, really starts with how you think. What is the story that you're telling yourself about yourself? What is the story that you've adopted? And what is the identity that you want to have? Because your brain will start to work to figure out how to make you become those things that you want to be. Now, socially, how do we foster or how do we prevent burnout? We surround ourselves with positive people. So it's not enough to, as social creatures, we crave that connection, right? But it's not enough to crave connection with just anybody. It's just not. It has to be people who nourish you. So setting boundaries is going to be crucial here, but we all know those negative people, right? Who just complain, who have nothing positive to say, who doubt you, who tell you things that make you feel small or make you feel incapable. These aren't the people we're surrounding ourselves with. We're setting boundaries with those people. Even if they're your family and your friends, we have to set boundaries and protect ourselves. So positive people, who inspires you? And, surrounding yourself with positive people can also be listening to TED Talks from positive people, or watching someone on the TV who inspires you, or reading a book that inspires you. Surround yourself with positive people and positive messaging. The old, kind of saying, or the idea is you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So think about the 5 people that you spend the most time with, and think about if that's the best thing for you. Right? If those 5 people are they helping you become who it is that you want to be, or are they kind of maybe bringing you down a bit? Getting support. So again, surrounding yourself with positive people, but also getting support. So ask for help if you need help. Please ask for help if you need help. There's no shame in raising your hand and saying, I need some support. I need some help right now. And that could be from family, that can be from friends, that can be from coworkers, that could be from a trained professional. But having somebody to support you is going to be very, very important, especially if you're starting to make changes. If you're taking some notes from this right now and saying, hey, I want to implement that, having some support and sharing that so they can encourage you is going to be really important. Mentors, really important. People, in the organization who might be above you, really important, below you, really important in terms of the organizational chart. So getting support. And then we're going to really dive into setting boundaries, because boundaries are really important as well. So boundaries can be over a lot of different things. But the bottom line for boundary setting is we're respecting others and we're respecting ourselves. You get to determine how other people treat you. You get to determine that. You get to say, hey, please don't contact me in the middle of the night, right? So you can determine how and when people contact you. So if you don't want people calling you on your personal cell phone number, hey, I know we're work colleagues, but I would really appreciate it if my cell phone was just for personal calls. Please feel free to email me, and you can email me during normal business hours. Thanks. What are you comfortable discussing? Just saying, hey, I'm not very comfortable with that topic. Can we talk about something else? Especially in a professional setting, it's important to establish what it is that you can and cannot talk about with each other, right? How much you take on. Are you a yes person? Do you take on more than you can handle and regret it later? Be sure you're taking on things that only the things that you're excited about, or that mean something to you, or that are super, super important. Try to limit how much you're taking on so that you don't burn yourself out. And again, it's all about respecting ourselves and respecting others. And part of boundary setting and just boundaries in general, it's not just about your boundaries. It's also kind of cool how once you've set your boundaries, you can recognize boundaries that other people are setting and then honor those. It's just a way to kind of increase that trust amongst each other and the respect, of course. Professionally, again, I've said this before, but please set realistic goals. So we know we want to set big goals that kind of inspire and motivate and get us out of bed every day, right? What's the big goal? What are we trying to hit? We don't want a baby goal, like a little tiny goal that no one really cares about, right? We want big goals, but they need to be realistic, or you're just setting yourself and your team up for disappointment and a feeling of failure. So having those open conversations with each other about what is it that I can do and what is it that you can do, and then collectively, what do we want that goal to be? Breaking up tasks. That's saying, how do you eat an elephant? Which I don't know who's out there eating elephants, but how do you eat an elephant? You eat it one bite at a time. So when we look at a big goal or a big task, something, daunting, we can shrivel up and be like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do. I'm so stressed out about this. There's this, and this. But when we break it up into little bite-sized tasks, it becomes more manageable, right? So what's the big goal? And then back yourself down from it. What is needed from me today? What do I need? What tasks need to be done right now that then will lead into the next tasks eventually, which I will get to at a later date. Prioritizing. Any given time, I have like 30 different things that are needed from me. Not all things are needed from me right this second. So to avoid being overwhelmed, I look at, okay, deadlines, what's needed in the next week or two, right? They're going to the top of the list. What's needed, what's a step that needs to be taken right now before the next step can be taken? They're going to the top of the list. Prioritizing helps you from feeling completely overwhelmed and feeling like everything needs to be done right this second. Delegation. Delegation is so important, right? Again, this is raising our hand and asking for help and support sometimes. But the other cool thing about delegation, like I was saying with the personality tests and the strengths tests, is really knowing your team well will help you know what tasks to delegate to what person, because it's kind of weird, but we think that everybody kind of sees the world through the same lens like we do, right? Like, oh my gosh, I cannot stand doing this task. This task is the worst. But there might be somebody on your team that like jumps at the opportunity to do that task. It is their jam. Like I said, I'm not the most organized person, but somebody on my team might absolutely love getting the label maker out and putting things in pretty folders and making sure everything is so organized and beautiful. That's their love language. They like love that, right? Meanwhile, it makes my skin crawl to like have to be that in a box, but it's needed. We all have different strengths that we can bring to the table. I love presenting and talking and doing things like this. Whereas a lot of people rank public speaking as, a bigger fear than death itself. So we're all unique. And by understanding your team better and then delegating those tasks accordingly, you can really increase that productivity and you can really increase that satisfaction with the job as well. Staying connected to the mission. So this is really important for nonprofits as well. I think a lot of the time, we're at our desk, we're meeting with donors, we're meeting with boards, we are, doing our job, right? But we can become almost disconnected from the mission and what it is that we're actually doing. So even though, I don't have a lot to do with the hands-on patient care at the Abby Hunt Bryce home, I try to go in there at least once or twice a week to just see what's going on, re-motivate myself, because when you see, the people that you're serving, it kind of lights a fire back under you, and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, every grant that I write, every donor call that I make, everything that I'm doing is benefiting these individuals, and these individuals are inspiring and amazing and great people, and I want to help them. So staying connected to your mission and your why, remembering why it is that you do what you do, both personally and then as an organization, can really help prevent that burnout. And then create comfortable work environment. So again, we're talking about making sure that, well, actually, I think my next slide. Yeah, here we go. We're talking about a comfortable work environment. We're talking about quotes, sayings, keeping things tidy. Convenience is important. Have you ever had somebody move like the stapler and not tell you where they moved it and then it goes missing? I don't know if any of you have seen Office Space, but that always comes to my mind. But people really don't like it when their office space becomes inconvenient, right? And they don't know where to find things, and it's not effective or efficient. There it is. So trying to keep things convenient, music and sound. Maybe your team loves like some pump up music and listens to music all day, but maybe some of your team doesn't like a noise while they're trying to work. So being mindful of that. Attire, what's required. Can they dress comfortably, or is it suit and tie all the time? And then refreshments, these are little things that we can do as a team just to boost morale. So keep some, little snacks or drinks or whatever in the office if you're meeting in person, just to kind of boost that morale. Inc.com says people first cultures are rooted in philosophy that values people over profits. The ironic twist is that when employees are valued as whole individuals and provided the opportunity for well-being, connection, and fulfillment, companies are generally more innovative, resilient, and even profitable. Can I get an amen? Okay, quickly, we're going to talk about, hey, we're already burnt out. What do we do? Like, thanks, Madison. That's all great, but we're already burnt out. So how do we re-energize and re-motivate ourselves and our team? Here's the physical warning signs of burnout. Insomnia. I love how this cut off. Sleeplessness. Insomnia and sleeplessness, that's definitely one. Exhaustion or oversleeping, so it can swing both ways. Increased physical illness, depression, anxiety, like we talked about. Here's some behavioral warning signs. We're more irritable, so our fuse is a little bit shorter. We forget things, more absent-minded. Apathetic, we stop caring. Pessimistic, everything is wrong and nothing will ever get better. Isolation and loneliness. This quote isn't anything like super crazy, but this is the bottom line. We need to make life easier for employees, right? And this is from Laszlo Block, which I believe was the HR or human resources executive for Google. And he won an award, but really it's, okay, what are the little things that can make life easier for employees? Even if we can't pay a lot more, even if we can't offer a ton of extra vacation time, how can we make life easier for employees by, maybe it's the supplies that they have, they have all the tools that they need. Maybe we can train them in more efficient ways. How do we make their life easier? I'd mentioned the dry cleaning, which, is a dream someday. Maybe we'll get dry cleaning at morning light. But just, think about what it is that you can do to make people feel appreciated and valued and make their life a little simpler. So step one, if we've burnt our team out or ourselves out, admittance. Acknowledge and admit faults, and then adopt new policies. So, hey team, I understand that we've been worked really hard. I think I neglected, some of the self-care that I know we all need to be doing. And I know we had to really push ourselves. Here's some new policies that we're putting into place to make sure that this doesn't happen again and that you feel valued, because we really do appreciate you. You are our best resource and our best asset. Jeff Hayden says, bottom line, money matters until it doesn't. because you can't buy great employees, but you can definitely earn them. So how do we earn great employees? It's not all about the bottom line. People will quit their job even if they are paid well, if they are burnt out, frustrated, resentful, and dissatisfied. So how do we earn these employees? Remotivate. So again, talking about what makes people tick, what motivates your team, what motivates your teammate might not be the same thing that motivates you. So having those conversations, listening and repeating that back to them, and then adapting your organization accordingly. Pay employees what they're worth. So a lot of employee salaries are being posted now. This is a trend that we're seeing, and especially in the nonprofit sector, we're required now to post employee salaries in a lot of different, job recruitment websites, et cetera. And people know what other people are making. So it's really disheartening to see that you're making so much less than somebody else in your job. So if we are in charge of payroll, we need to kind of figure out how we can compensate employees what they're worth. Give feedback. So this is good feedback. And hey, I think there's a lot of growth potential here for you. Motivate them, notice their strengths, talk about that, and then talk about their potential as well. Incentivizing. So maybe if we work really hard, we get a day off if we meet our goal or something. What are some incentives that you can include that may not have to do with pay? And then I know a lot of us are doing the hybrid policy, that work-home balance. It's really good to get the teams in person so you can bounce ideas and have those conversations and that team building. But do we need to be in the office 24/7? Can we make, a hybrid policy a little more of an option for employees so they don't have to commute? And they can work from home? Is that an option that you can do? That's one way to make life easier for employees, right? And then keep the end goal in sight. So remember to remind them why it is we do what we do and what we're striving for. And then step 3, show appreciation. So maybe you adopt an employee of the month program. Make sure you give credit where credit is due. There's nothing worse than being an employee who did a great job, had a great idea at a project or a campaign, and the boss takes all the credit, right? Or a team member takes all the credit and doesn't say, hey, you know what, this was actually, Stephanie's idea. So props to Stephanie for coming up with this brilliant idea. Also, when we're giving credit, it's also important to remember some people don't like public recognition. Some people shrink at that. They're not a fan. So try to, again, get to know your employees. Do you think they would take more from a private note that just says, hey, I'm giving you credit for this. Like, you had a great idea or you worked extra hard. I really appreciate that. And it's kind of a hush hush, from me to you thing. Or is your employee somebody who loves attention and would love at the next staff meeting or board meeting to get a shout out from you? Handwritten cards are really powerful and nice. This is good for donors too. Just, handwritten anything that isn't an email. Cards are kind of a lost art, right? We don't get a lot of cards in the mail anymore. We don't get a lot of cards unless it's like our birthday. And it's something that you can keep and put on your desk and remind you that you are appreciated. One-on-one meetings. This is really important. Setting a time to meet with each employee that isn't just a collective team, because a lot of the time, if you're in a collective environment, people won't speak up. So one-on-one meetings are really important to hear concerns and hear feedback. And then surprising and delighting. So for example, it was National Caregiver Appreciation Day last week. And so I just went to the store, bought some cookies and a card and some flowers for my team, put it by their clock in so they could just, they didn't know I was going to do that. And it's just, when they come to work, it's an instant kind of morale booster. Oh, wow. Okay. Thanks. And it doesn't have to be anything big or expensive. It's just these little things that you can do. Hey guys, lunch is on the office today. So, where do you want to eat? What do you want to do? These are things that really make a difference. And then step 4, celebrate success. I think a lot of us have a bad habit of, okay, great, we accomplished that. Now what's the next thing? Stopping and savoring a success when you've met a goal or, at the end of a year. We do it, at the end of the year for like New Year's. It's like, okay, let's recap the year, but can we do that on more of a regular basis? What are we doing right? Let's stop and savor that. Let's have some fun with that. Let's have a little party or something to pat ourselves on the back for all of our hard work. And then share the success. So again, sharing the success with your donors or on your social media, and really building your team up on hey, look at what we did as a team. Like, isn't this great? And getting that feedback really can make a difference. And here's my information. So that really is it. That's what I had for everybody today. I hope there was at least one tip or one kind of reminder or a little nugget that you can take back and use for yourself or your team. That's actually my cell number. So please feel free to get in touch with me. I love hearing feedback and connecting with other nonprofits. As Stephen said, I am a coach and consultant. So if you want to send me an email, if you have any other questions or any other thing that I could answer for you, we're going to try to get to some questions here in just a second. But please reach out, and thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Madison. That was awesome. That was chock full of really good advice. And wow, thank you so much for doing this. I'm seeing a lot of chats here that people got a lot of good takeaways. So thank you for all the advice. We probably got time for maybe a couple of questions. There's a lot of good ones in here. We probably won't get to all of them. But reach out to Madison. She's an awesome person, obviously, and she got her contact info there. Here's an interesting one. Madison, have you seen anyone starting to refer to sick days as wellness days instead of sick days? That seems like kind of an interesting idea.
Cool. I like that. I think in my organization, I'm trying to remember exactly the terms that we use. I know we have like separate days for like funeral leave and bereavement, and then I think the rest of it is just general PTO. So I guess you could call that wellness days. I kind of like that. Yeah,
it seems like it would maybe allow people to take time off for things that aren't just illnesses. That's kind of intriguing. I'm actually bringing that up at our company. So Madison, you're the leader, right? What about people who maybe aren't in that leadership position? They want to kind of suggest things upwards. Any advice for those people?
Well, my hope is that your leader is good enough to listen, because any good leader knows that listening is going to be one of the first and best things that you can do. I don't know what your relationship is with your supervisor, but really just honestly arming yourself with some statistics, or figuring out what makes that leader tick. Remember, we're all so unique, and what kind of motivates us. It might be statistics, it might be interpersonal, something or other. But trying to understand what it is that makes them tick, and then bring that to them when you're saying, hey, I think this would be a really good thing to implement for our team, and here's why, here's the data, or here's, the backup for that. That would be my suggestion. Just, I don't know if you have team meetings or staff meetings or whatever, but just to raise your hand and say, hey, I know a lot of other organizations are implementing this. Do you think that would be something we could look at?
Makes sense. Similarly, what if maybe you got a coworker, or maybe it's someone kind of, not that you report to or reports to you, but maybe a friend in the office that you're starting to see so maybe some of these signs. What can you do to be a good friend, I guess, to that person?
A support. I think one thing that you can do if you're feeling in more of a place of, like you're more grounded and you're feeling more empowered at that moment, is to say, hey, is there anything that I can do for you to help take a little bit off your plate? Is there anything that I could do for you? Just that kind of delegation. Like, I guess it depends on what the signs are. But just to kind of gently approach them and have that conversation, like, hey, how are you doing? Like, don't give me the fine or okay, but like, how are you doing? I really want to know. And just, again, I really feel like conversations and communication are going to be the foundation for so much of this progress. And also, if you are comfortable, you can always, send them an article or send them a link or something that you think might benefit them. Like, hey, I found this. I know it made a big difference in my life as my friend. I wanted to share it with you.
Love it. I got time for one more question. This is a good one. What about ways of not taking work home. Some of us are literally at home. Like I'm at home too. Something I do at home, I'm just curious what you think, Madison, is like literal physical boundaries. Like this laptop doesn't leave this
Yeah.
guest bedroom, right? What are some things you've seen so that you're not like living at work?
Yeah. So I think at the beginning of the pandemic, I was like working in my bedroom a lot. And I think kind of creating an intentional workspace and sticking to that it can be really helpful. It's subliminal messaging that our brain gets when we're in a certain space, right? And so if you're working in the same place that you eat, the same place that you play, the same place that you relax, your brain doesn't know when to switch into one thing or another. Also, time blocking. So, setting an alarm on your phone that says from this time to this time, I'm going to do laundry. From this time to this time, I'm going to cook dinner. From this time to this time, I'm checking email. And then not letting all of those times kind of bleed into each other is a practice that I think a lot of people have benefited from.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense to me. I've done some of those things. It really helps. Dang, it's 3 o'clock already. I feel like I could talk to you all day, but we want to let people go because we want to create some boundaries as well. But
Yeah, boundary
Madison,
setting.
this has been awesome. I know we didn't get to all the questions. I'm so sorry about that. I promise I wasn't trying to play favorites, but reach out to Madison. Her
Yeah,
info is
here's my
here.
information. I'm happy to have like a one-on-one chat with you if you still have questions or anything you want to share.
Awesome. Well, thanks for doing this, Madison. This was really, really helpful. I really appreciate you doing this for us.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you to all of you who joined. Have a
Yeah,
great
thanks.
day.
Definitely. You guys are all awesome for joining us. Hopefully you can join us again. We've got a great session coming up next week, same time, same place. We're going to be talking about marketing plans. If you don't have a marketing plan, this is for you. If you do have one, but maybe it's gotten a little bit rusty or dusty, I should say, check us out. My buddy Jackie is going to be here talking all things marketing and plans. So totally free, totally educational, just like this presentation. If you can't make it, register anyway, because you'll get the recording. I won't even notice that you're not there necessarily. You won't take up anybody's spot. So don't feel bad about that. Speaking of recordings, we are going to be sending out this recording as well as the slides later on today. So be on the lookout for that. And hopefully we will see you next week. So we'll call it a day there. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope everybody has a good rest of their Thursday, a good week, a restful weekend. Maybe that'll be our big homework assignment, is to take some time off this weekend. And hopefully we'll see you again next week. Take care.